We're already like 3 videos into this series, and we've covered some interesting ground, but I thought it would be useful to stop and sort of rewind back before the beginning and talk about all the stuff we never really bothered to challenge. The stuff we knew before we knew anything. In other words, before we even started to design this new game, we sort of knew the shape of it. We knew we wanted to make a game that would give modern D&D players a better option. So we knew this wasn't going to be a narrative-focused game with very few rules. It was going to be crunchy, focused around encounters, fighting monsters. We had lots of ideas of things we wanted to add to that paradigm. Negotiation, politics. We think we have an interesting idea for how to build adventures. Lots of ideas. But still a heroic, tactical, fighting monsters game. So, for instance, 6 stats. We never seriously considered anything else. I actually had what I thought was a good idea for why you had 6 stats. I thought it was 2 columns of 3 stats each. One column was your physical stats, the other was your mental stats. So far, so good. And then each category had 1 stat for effectiveness, 1 for avoidance, and 1 for mitigation. So, like, your might is about how effective you are in physical combat. How much damage do you do, basically. And then agility helps you avoid damage, and endurance helps you mitigate or reduce the damage you couldn't avoid. This seemed clever and made sense, and I'm 900% certain there are other games that work this way, so it didn't seem particularly controversial. But we never took this idea that seriously. You know, we want characters who are mostly agility-based or intuition-based. So our 6 stats are might, agility, endurance, reason, intuition, and presence. Nothing surprising or radical there. Tons of folks on social media were like, great, another D&D clone. But I don't think many of them were arguing in good faith. If we thought our game would work better with 5 or 9 stats, we would have done that. But we started with 6, and so far, we haven't found any problems. I think some people assume that if you have 6 stats, they need, for some reason, to all be equally useful, and I disagree with that. Not every skill needs to be equally useful. Not every class needs to be equally popular. It is okay and, in fact, I think desirable if you have some options that are more boutique than others. Maybe there isn't a class that uses endurance to attack with. That's fine. That's not a bug. Maybe most martial classes focus on might. That's okay. We also assumed it was a class and level-based game. We never seriously considered anything else, but we had good reasons to go with this design. In a class-based system, classes do a lot of work design-wise. Basically, the purpose of a class is to take a bunch of different game mechanics and bundle them up into one package that supports some archetype or fantasy or style of play. In many ways, using classes, instead of just buying abilities from a menu a la carte, is a way to make your game easier to balance. In a point-based system where you can just buy all of your abilities with points, and every time you adventure, you get more points, you have to balance every ability against every other ability, and this means watering down every cool idea you have so it can play nice with all the others. In a class-based game, abilities still need to be balanced against each other, but since there are very severe limits on how the player can mix and match those abilities, the opportunity to break the game is very much reduced. For instance, let's imagine 2 classes, each with 3 abilities, and the abilities are rated on a power scale of 1 to 3, where a 3-point power is the most powerful. Class A has 3 abilities, all rated 2. Class B has a 3, a 2, and a 1. Both have a total of 6 points worth of powers, but Class B has the most powerful ability, a 3-point power. Class A doesn't have anything that cool. Isn't that broken? Well, some people might think so, and any specific ability could be broken depending on how it's designed. But all things being equal, no, it's not broken. In fact, it's a feature. Class B has that super cool 3-point ability, but it also has the much less powerful 1-point ability, whereas Class A doesn't have any 1-point abilities. This can be a feature because some players just want to do this one dope thing they can rely on and master, along with a few low-level utility functions. Other players want to be more flexible and shine in a wider variety of scenarios. Now, the different classes support different playstyles. So while this one ability might be better than that other ability, taken as a whole, the classes are balanced against each other. But you already rated all the abilities, why not just give people some points and let them spend them however they want on a master list of powers, i.e. an a la carte system without any classes? Well, because then you have to test every combination of abilities, which is, it's not impossible, but it's not a lot of fun. And then you have to do it all over again as soon as you invent a new cool ability. And what inevitably happens is the coolest abilities need to be nerfed into a bland, flavorless goop in order not to break the game when paired with every other ability. There's a middle ground you see a lot in games like Skyrim, where your character starts as a blank slate, and as you gain XP, you can sort of think of XP as the currency of progression. You pick a branch of character development, and every choice you make locks out some other choices. Same effect as a class-based system. We don't need to balance Grim Spectre of Death against every ability in the game, just the abilities in the Deathstalker tree. The flowchart forces you to make decisions, and once you've picked Deathstalker, you can't pick Elementalist. Furthermore, presenting a new player with, here's 100 cool abilities and 20 points, knock yourself out, is sort of abusive. I've worked on games that started out like this, but we usually just give up and say, let's bundle all these abilities into different classes and levels. New players don't know how their choices will affect play. They have no idea which abilities synergize well with others. Taking a batch of related abilities that synergize well together and all point toward a certain archetype and then calling that a class is a great way to make it easy for a new player to make an informed decision. You don't have to worry about accidentally making a stupid character when you didn't mean to, just because you were new and you didn't know that if you buy, all 1-point abilities, you're going to have a bad time. Classes let us design an archetype, get some cool art for it, and then a new player has a different experience. Well, I don't know how this game works, but I can imagine what a swashbuckler might be about. And this art really sells that idea, so I just trust that MCDM knows what they're doing, and if I pick this class, it will let me do the kinds of things I imagine a swashbuckler can do. We take that whole idea really seriously. It is one of the foundational principles of our design. And this is related to the idea of levels. Lots of RPGs don't bother with levels. They just award XP as points you can spend, and there's maybe a tree or a flowchart like in Skyrim you can spend those points to navigate through. Each choice unlocks new options or locks off other choices you can no longer pick. This has value because it means players get rewarded earlier, and they get to start customizing their characters sooner. You can imagine an RPG where, after the first encounter, you get 5 XP. Your character sheet shows this flowchart of abilities, and starting at 0, you have different abilities you can rank up immediately after earning that XP. The first session isn't even over, and you already made progress. Lots of games work like this, but not ours. For this game, we want to delay those rewards for a couple of reasons. For one thing, it means that leveling up becomes a significant milestone and something you can hang a lot of dramatic moments on. It feels good to finish an adventure and level up. Each event reinforces the significance of the other. Finishing the adventure feels more momentous because we leveled up, and leveling up feels more momentous because it happened after we resolved the plot. But also, taking a bunch of class abilities, bundling them together into something called a level, and awarding them all at once means you spend quite a while, several sessions usually, and many encounters with the same set of abilities. This gives you lots of opportunities to get used to how they work. To master them, in other words. Maybe the biggest benefit, and possibly the reason I see leveling up used a lot in group games, but skill trees used in solo games, is a level-based system means the entire group is going to spend several sessions, all with the same abilities they had last session. This means everybody has time to get used to what everyone else can do. You discover synergies between your class abilities. You learn which characters on the team tend to need healing, which ones need buffs. There's a lot to learn. And if everyone's adding abilities after every encounter, then things can change a lot, even in a single session, and players start to feel like they don't really know or understand the other characters at the table, and this contributes to a sense of isolation, an absence of any feeling of team. Also, we don't think the players should be spending most of their time thinking about how they're going to improve their character. They should be thinking about what they want to do and how their character sheet is going to help them do it. Taking abilities and awarding them in discrete packets called levels means you're only shifting into that, okay, let me think about how I want to improve my character mode once every few sessions, not every time you beat an encounter. Hopefully it's obvious why there is no one right answer to this. We never seriously considered any other system for this RPG than class and levels, but that's mostly just because it's never been a problem in the games we've run before. It's not broken. It's not a problem that needs solving. It works, and we like it. Same with 6 stats. Next video, maybe we talk about how weapons work, or we could talk about our classes and what we think we know about them. We'll see. It'll be a surprise. Thanks for watching, folks. If this is your first Designing the Game video, every video is someone's first video, all of this stuff is covered in more detail on our Patreon, where $8 a month gets you behind the scenes details. Eventually, the patrons will get to start testing the game, but you don't need $8. Just hang out here and you will get more videos. Until next time, peace out.